have guests who are joining us. And those of you who are here already listening to Q95 Radio, you know that you can go online on Facebook and you can find us on Q95 Radio as well. We are on StreamYard with in Buffalo, New York. We have Ms. Teresa Evans, who is the head of the Parents Encouraging Accountability and Closure for Everyone. 20 years. I can't believe in the formation in 2024. We met there in Buffalo and we are still doing this work. You know, the theme of our show tonight is how to manage grief during the holidays and beyond. And all of the ladies who are with us tonight and the man who's are people who have had experience of losing loved ones in untimely ways, mostly through homicides. We have Jackie Wells from Buffalo, New York. We actually have Rosemary. I don't know if Rosemary will be able to join us, but I know she's in the wing with us. We might primarily hear from Jackie Wells and Teresa Evans from Buffalo, New York, in the Peace Organization. They will introduce themselves in a little while. We also have in Dominica, Colonel Charles. And his sister, Kathleen Charles. You know, Colonel Charles, as you guys will remember, as everyone will remember, was our very first guest on Peaceology State. We were in the studio in Dominica, and Colonel was able to join us and talk about his community, Silver Lake, the various realities that they experienced in the community of Silver Lake. At the time, we were mourning the death of Tanya, who was a nurse who died in an untimely way while having a delivery of her first born child. And now Colonel and Cotillia are Kirtland Cotillia was one of the sisters. Kirtland and Colonel are joining us with two of their sisters having been victims of gun violence, and with one of his sisters succumbing and the other one being alive with us. We didn't try to reach her because it's a traumatizing time. But Colonel and Kirtland will be are here with us tonight. So we're just giving people a little overview. We will be have our guests introduce themselves, but we want to remind you that Peaceology State is primarily brought to you by the Peaceful World Movement, by Peaceology Acres. I am your host, Dr. Peter Kibi St. Jean. I am the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences at North Park University in Chicago. I am a social scientist, I'm a clinician, I'm a business scientist. And what you see now, what you're hearing now is actually part of my academic work, part of my professional work is to do that type of work. And Miss Evans, you've known that from Buffalo, New York. We've had, the movie lessons from Homicides, the Buffalo Story, and so much that we have done. So this is just a brief introduction into tonight. Lambi, I imagine you're going to lighten us up a little bit. Lambi's going to lighten us up a little bit. We feature one artist every show, and this time we are featuring the music of Lord Tokyo. And Lambi, whichever one, Chate Noel or the medley. Actually, there is one of them where he actually says something in the beginning. It says the first introduction by Lord Tokyo, but whichever one of Tokyo, we're listening to the Christmas type of music in the Caribbean style way of Mighty Tokyo. And Lambi, whenever you're ready, we're going to take a little quick break, a little musical break, and we're going to listen to Tokyo for a minute or so, a minute or two, and then we'll come back. And as soon as we come back, I'm going to play our theme song, Know the Story of Our Peace, on the accordion, and Miss Evans and the wonderful ladies from Buffalo, New York will be telling us a bit about the organization. Kirtland and Colonel will be listening on. They may have some questions of their own, and they will tell about the reality they face in Silver Lake. We'll compare Buffalo and Silver Lake and other places and figure out how we can all move together to help people rise from grief when it strikes them in ways, especially that include homicides or serious injury. So Lambi, we're ready to lighten it up a little bit with Tokyo. Whenever you're ready, you can just cut me off and go over. Mighty Tokyo.
hallelujah. 1, 2, 3, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. We bring you a Christmas message. We bring you a Christmas message. Christmas message. Let your far away. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Praise the name, hallelujah. 1, 2, 3, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Good morning, good morning. I wish you a Merry Christmas. Good morning, good morning. And a bright and happy New Year. Good morning, good morning. And I'm all on this morning. Good morning, good morning. What you doing in that city? Good morning, good morning. What you doing Christmas morning? Good morning, good morning. And I bring out the drink for us. Good morning, good morning. I go to look at way. Good morning, good morning. Down in your way. We must awake, awake, awake. We must awake. For we bring you a Merry Christmas. Look, the Christmas bells are ringing and the Christmas voices singing, and we wish you a Merry Christmas and a bright and happy New Year. We must awake, awake, awake. We must awake. For we bring you a Merry Christmas. Look, the Christmas bells are ringing and the Christmas voices singing, and we wish you a Merry Christmas and a bright and happy New Year. Chantano bueno bueno, yeli wali wali wa. Chantano bueno bueno. Mette Maria Sapusica, Madesu Capitian, Ilion Fisapella. Chantano bueno bueno, yeli wali wali wa. Chantano.
I remember that, oh geez, I don't remember the year now. I know, but for sure it was actually around 1990, around 2000, 1995, 2000, around that time. I was in New York, actually. A friend of mine, Liz Adrian, introduced me. And Jali, who's a musician, Dominica, actually, we should try to bring Jali on the show one time and feature some of Jali's music. She's been around for a long time. I don't know if some of you know Jali. But I met Tokyo in New York, and we were in Brooklyn, and he had different shows that he was putting on, and we were able to hear him. And every year, and we play Chris. My wife, my children, my family, we have been playing Tokyo's music. So before we introduce, I said I was going to play the accordion now, but I'm going to do that a little bit later on. What I'm going to remind you that our show is you can call in. This is a live show, so eventually you'll be able to call in Dominica. If you're in Dominica with the 767 area code, you can call 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097. There's also a cell number that is 616-4257. Now, Miss Evans, and everybody listening that is outside of Dominica in the United States, Canada, you can call a number like you're just calling a regular number in the United States. It's going to be toll free for you. So if you want to talk, you hear something Miss Evans is saying, if you're listening to us in Buffalo, New York, or somewhere in Canada or wherever else, you can call. The number is 305-432-9624. I'm going to copy, Mr. Evers, I'm going to copy that number and send to you too. But the number is 305-432-9624. And if you called that number, you will be able to reach Dominica for free, and you'll be able to speak. Lambie, the handsome young gentleman, Lambie in the studio, will really accept your call, and and you will be able to speak with us live here on the show, right? So thanks again. We are here the 23rd of December of the year 2024. I'm your host, Dr. Peter KB St. Jean. Patrice St. Jean co should be joining us soon. Our show tonight is called Managing Grief Over the Holiday Season and Beyond. So we are going to we'll just do a brief introduction because I have Miss Wells and I have Miss Evans from Buffalo, New York, and Cornell and Kirtland. We will introduce you in a short while. But Miss Evans, thank you so much for joining us on the show. You can unmute yourself and tell us about yourself a little bit, and tell us about Peace, the organization, briefly, and then Jackie will introduce herself briefly, and then we'll go from there. Thanks again. Thanks for accepting my invitation tonight.
And thank you for having us. My name is Teresa Evans, and I'm one of the co-founders of Peace Incorporated, which is an acronym for Parents Encouraging Accountability and Closure for Everyone. We were established in 2004. Dr. St. John was in Buffalo during that time, and he was instrumental in helping us get started, getting incorporated, off the ground running. Peace is an organization that provides support and assistance to families who lost loved ones to homicide. We organize because we had a small support group and people were coming and were not getting the help that they needed with their cases, unsolved cases, not knowing who to talk to, where to go to, or that support. So we started a group, and we've been in existence for 20 years now. We just celebrated our 20th year. We just started working with children recently. We had a training just the other day about how to facilitate a support group for children, because that's important too, and we didn't want to damage any kids. So we've been doing a lot of training, Office of Victims of Crime training. We just had coping with grief in Buffalo about 2 weeks ago, coping with grief during the holidays, because we know this is a difficult time for families.
Yes. Well, thank you, Miss Evans. We will hear from a little more about Miss Evans. And one of the things that the members of Peace are not shy to do, because most of them are actually, and all of them, have had direct contacts for having be survivors of people who were victims of homicide. So to the extent that they feel comfortable, they will tell you later on about their own personal story and how their personal story drove them into being able to be involved in Peace, and what it has done for them. I mean, 20 years, Miss Evans, that's a long time. And so how does it impact you in terms of what you have to do to support others, but how do you help heal your own self in the quest of helping to heal others? Mama Jackie Wells, but she has this booming voice. I remember, Miss Evans, the first time I met Jackie Wells, right? We were in the basement of somewhere. It could be on one of the YMCA or something like that. And Mark Fuller, the guys at the Stop the Violence Coalition, and Ali Daniels and stuff. When Jackie is present, she's there. And I don't know if that's still the case. But whenever Jackie, nobody doesn't notice that Jackie's not there. And man, I heard this lady stand up. She was just so quiet, everybody talking, and then this Jackie stood up, and then from the time she heard her voice, nothing is the same anymore, because she just has a way of making a presence. So Jackie Wells, my friend, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Please introduce yourself and what you do to our group.
Hi, my name is Jacqueline Wells. I lost two sons, one in 2002 and one in 2006. And I didn't have any understanding and I needed help. And along came Peace. And I've been with Peace ever since, from 2004 up until now. These ladies have done some most marvelous work. They have helped a lot of mothers overcome their grief. We don't get over it, but we are able to move forward and try to thrive to help someone else to don't feel so down and out of it, because you still got to live. And that's what Peace will try to do, like Miss Evans said, we can't fix it, but we try to some kind of way to help you go on and move on, and don't just be in that one space.
Yes, that is important, right? Because as Jackie said, that there is a phase involved. There is a beginning, there is a middle, and whatever the end is, there's an end. The beginning is not the beginning is not the middle is not the end,
Right,
and it's going to be a long marathon. So you really have to pace yourself, because sometimes when things happen, it seems like we just want to fix things right away. We want to address
right.
things. We want justice. But as you said, you have to find a way to have longevity, to stretch it out for yourself, because you are going to be trying to heal. You're going to grieve, and most likely you might find some other victimization, maybe not directly into your family, but also around your friends. And Jack, you said Jacqueline. We call you Jackie. Didn't you have a grandson also that was also?
Yeah, yes, he was 15 years old.
Yes.
Um, Matter of fact, I hate to say this, but his mother just passed.
Oh,
And,
I'm sorry to
uh,
hear that.
so that family went through a lot. It just we was able to help, work with her, and see some progress. I always kept up with my mothers. I call
Yeah.
them my daughters, my sisters, and then the fathers that we have. I call them my brothers or my dad or something. But we all become like family.
Yes, and later on, I want to hear too what my buddy John Harris. I don't know what's the latest of him, but and other men that may have been involved. I know Devontae Murray's father, was also involved. Some people come in, but I know the women have just been stalwarts. Sometime we need to do a show on women volunteer organizations. My wife is part of Jack and Jill organization, and it just seemed that Black women run some volunteer organizations like nobody else does. I mean, a lot of people run organizations, but the type of work that I see Black women do in leading nonprofits, especially a nonprofit for caring communities, sometimes we need to do a special show on that, because there's just something special. And there are a lot of people around the world that can learn from places like Buffalo or Chicago. Buffalo has a strong block club culture, has a strong community culture. So, Ms. Wells, thanks so much for sharing with us. Now, Colonel uh,
Don't
and
forget
Kirkland. So, yes.
Rosemary.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Thank you. Rosemary, how are you? Introduce yourself. I know you are coming through with Miss. I don't know if you I don't see you on there, but I know somehow you're either through somebody's phone. Please introduce yourself to our listening audience. My friend Rosemary Speed.
My name is Rosemary Speed, and I'm one of the co-founders of Peace.
Mhm. Tell us
And
a little. Go ahead.
and when my son got when my son became a homicide, I was looking for somewhere to go, and somebody found Rebuilding a Life After.
A violent death support group.
What was it, Teresa?
Rebuilding life after a violent death support group.
Yes, that's where I originally started from. And then, as Teresa said, we went on and found that we needed to do something for the community, because I was lost. I didn't know what to do, where to go, or nothing. And it has helped me helping other mothers.
Thank you. We look forward to talking more with you, and thank you for joining us through Miss Evans Communication. So, if in the studio you hear that there's a second generation response in terms of Rosemary's microphone, that's why. And what second generation means, that usually the voice goes somewhere before it goes to somewhere else. It's not direct in. But she is joining us. She had some technical difficulties, and she's working around that. So we're glad that she's able to join us. People may wonder, Miss Evans may wonder, Jackie, Rosemary, and some of our listeners may wonder, we're in the nature isle of the Caribbean, and things happen everywhere. But why is it that we are bringing the ladies from Buffalo, New York, and parents encouraging accountability and closure for everyone, and Colonel Charles and Kirtland together in the community of Silver Lake? Why are we doing this? Why at this merry time of the year we are talking about married managing grief. And we will explain why. But I see, Kathleen, I see your microphone is open. So can you please introduce yourself? Can you introduce yourself, Kathleen, to our listeners?
Hi, my name is Kathleen Charles. From Silver Lake. In 2018, I lost a brother, which is named Curtis Kutsun Charles. And in 2024, recently, I lost a sister, which was my close friend, my everything. Recently, then November the 26th, I lost a sister through gunshot. So, yeah, yeah.
So thank you, Curtin, for joining us and having the courage while you're going through this. And also tell her about your other sister, so you can remind us of about your other sister that also was a victim while one of your sisters lost her life. Right? Is that the case, right?
Yeah, it was. Well, my older sister, she's doing okay. She was a part of the incident that happened recently with my older sister that died, but she just got a shot in her legs, and she's being treated at the health center every week, every Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday with my mommy. Also, my mommy lost two toes recently there before my sister died because she's a diabetic person. So both she and my mommy go to the health center and get themselves dressed up with the bubbles. But they are doing fine. They are coming on. The bubbles are okay. Thanks God to this.
Yes, and please give them my regards. I visited with your mom, a few times. You yourself were there after the incident, and we've known each other for a long time, working with Miss Walsh. Miss Walsh, Gloria Walsh, was not able to join us tonight. We have another show on the 6th of January of 2025. We'll be in studio. I'm scheduled, God willing, to be in Dominica. So we'll join in studio and we'll continue discussions about how we build from a community like Silver Lake, specifically this community of Silver Lake, that Miss Walsh and I have been working and others have been working. A lot of great people are there. A lot of great realities are there. But there's also a community struggling for some issues, especially issues that relate to poverty, hopelessness, joblessness, those types of things. So how do we work with people in those situations that get victimized multiple times as they try to respond to a system and a structure of oppression? Our focus is to really give help to the people who really need that help, while we can deal with broader issues of injustice. But we want to directly be working with helping those families in need and helping those families through those processes, because while justice is there or not there, and while the victimizations continue to happen, people have to live their lives on a daily basis. They need the empathy and the support that they need, because they have to go through lives. Young children have to grow up. Elder people are transitioning out. Adults are in the middle. So we thank you for listening with us. We ask you to have any questions or comments you have. We're glad that Kathleen and Cornell and others of you can have an interface with Miss Evans. That's the whole idea of what our show does. Peaceology is the science and practice of low stress and high joy. And the idea is to bring people together so we can create a world that is more characterized by instances and realities and joys that relate to Peaceology, again, to low stress and high joy. So Cornell, turn on your mic and introduce yourself. Tell our guests and the world who you are. I imagine that you are here with us. I see your microphone is still muted. If it's not, then we'll go ahead and, okay, there he is.
Okay. Good night. My name is Colonel Charles. I live at Silver Lake. I'm 18 years old. I work at Win Church. Also, I go to BTC to do my subjects so I can go back to college.
Yes, Colonel, as you hear, is on the move. He's on his cell phone. He came from work tonight, and he wanted to make sure when he came from Whitchurch. Shout out to Whitchurch for the great services that they provide. Whitchurch Supercenter, that's Whitchurch Market, is in the heart of the city of Roseau. Miss Evans, whenever you visit Dominica, if you're on the cruise ship, you decide to just walk out. Whitchurch is not far away. If you visit the city, Whitchurch is a place. We have some friends and colleagues. Actually, Joanne Bellot, a good friend of mine, runs a part of, well, I don't know if she still does, but she at least managed the tour. She's one of the tour managers of a unit that manages tours, the shipping of the company, shipping items and so on. But it's one of the historical businesses that provide great support for in our community, in our capital city of Roseau. There are many young people and otherwise who have gotten employment through Whitchurch, places like Whitchurch, Supercenter, like Asta fans. These are places where young people get opportunity to work and to get the pay and to have business acumen. And we're glad that Richard is able to employ young people like Cornell. I know they have a great young man because he's very dedicated, he's very devoted, and he went to high school. He graduated from high school. He was our first guest on our show of Peaceology State. He's aspiring to be a lawyer. I don't want to talk too much for him, but he has said that on our show. And in the process, while he is getting ready to go to college, he has to do some more high school support work. It's no secret. It's the reality of what it is, because our students, sometimes when students are in those types of situations, sometimes the way they perform well in high school, but the well that they perform need a little more sometimes to be able to allow them to elevate. And we are proud to have people, like Cornell, who has graduated high school, did well, but has to do some more in order to make it to college, and he's persevering. So thank you for continuing to persevere, and for your teachers at BTC and the others who are going to support you, and our sponsors of our shows and our effort. You were one of the sponsors of Alvin Anthony. I want to thank Alvin Anthony for his generous support. My sister, Marilyn Agnes Kazemi, my other sister, Jacqueline Cecilia St. Jean, my brother, Anthony St. Jean, Annie John Baptist, Norman Roll. These were also sponsors that actually helped to sponsor, to pay for the times we were able to help Cornell with his scholarship, and others. The credit union and others also supported him. But Cornell, as you continue your way, as you continue your path, our sponsors are willing to continue to help you, to support you as you continue to work, and just continue to be a wonderful young man and a good representation for your community. And thank you so much for spending the time and to be able to talk to us here tonight. And while you listen to Miss Evans, as you listen to Miss Wells, as you listen to Miss Speed, as you listen to your own sister and Cotilia, as you listen to Cornell, we want to be able to have a dialogue where we learn from each other, and where we invite our guests to be able to call in. And guests, again, we invite you to call in to our show, and right here on Q95, the big station. And you have heard it before, but you know that the numbers to call if you're in Dominica is 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097. You can also reach us on 616-4257. And overseas line, people who are calling from the United States, Canada, and elsewhere, you can reach us on 305-432-9624. Again, that's 305-432-9624. And so at this phase, what we're going to do, we're going to take a little space from all of this heavy stuff, and we're going to take another little intermission break. I see Miss Evans. Miss Evans, I don't know, have you ever seen me play the accordion before? You haven't seen me play the accordion live, right? Actually, I learned that during the pandemic. And actually, I don't think we have seen each other since the pandemic, Miss Evans, right? In person. I don't think you've seen me in person. So that means you've never.
I haven't.
You have not. In fact, and I'm sorry, I apologize. When I was in Buffalo, New York over the weekend, I should have visited you, but it was a very quick trip. So you probably saw a video of me playing the accordion on the roof of the building. Miss Evans was the one, and she and the Peace were having a meeting on the back porch of our building in Buffalo, New York. And Miss Evans called and said, "Doc, you said you wanted to live in a church one day, right? Well, these people are selling your church. I think it's going to be your future home." Remember that, Miss Evans? Yes. I think she remembers. So there's a song I composed called "Know the Story of Our Peace." A lot of times we know a lot about violence. We know how people die. We know people are hurt. But very seldom do we know about peace. We know a lot about how violence happens. Very seldom we know about how peace happens. And we believe in Peaceology, the science and practice of low stress and high joy. We believe in the third law of physics. And the third law of physics tells us that energy follows attention. What that means is that the things we focus on, this is more of what we get. So when we know more and we speak more and we respond more to violence, believe it or not, as much as our response to violence and our condemnation of violence and our attention to violence may lead us to grieve about the violence and to speak it out and to speak truth to justice, believe it or not, part of the energy that we put into violence also helps to fuel violence. The third law of physics: to every force, there is an equal and opposite reaction. That is to say, that what we resist persists. So, depending on how it is that we respond to certain things, we give life to it. So, what do? Well, we have to respond to negative things. And in Peaceology, we have a 20/80 formula where we say we focus about 20% of our energy on the problem and about 80% towards the solution. So we're not going to ignore problems, but we're not going to burn ourselves out. So I composed this song called Know the Story of Our Peace, because a lot of times we know the story of people's violence, the violence in Buffalo, the violence in Chicago, the violence that may be in Dominica, the violence that may be in any part of the world, and what's happening now in Israel and Palestine, what's happening in Russia. We know about this violence, but how much do we know about peace? So, Miss Evans, since you have not seen me play this before, and Rosemary and Miss Wells, and those of you who are watching and listening, the way that I compose this is that I'm going to be playing it in C. I can play it in I can play this in G, C, or F, but I'm going to play it in C, which are the middle rows here on the accordion. This is a diatonic accordion, and I have 31 keys and 62 notes, so I can go in and out, dia, press in and out. So the first time I play, it's going to be a kind of a simpler version of Know the Story of Our Peace. And then the second time, I'm going to add double notes. So it's going to sound a little bit richer. And like the third time around cycle, I'm going to use, this is the melody on that side, and on the left side, that's harmony. So the third time I play it, I'm going to play harmony. The first time, you're not going to see me use the left side of the accordion. You'll just see me use my right hand. That's just the melody. And later on, I'm going to enrich it with the harmony. And then I want you to think about, not that we want to stereotype, but sometimes women have higher pitched voices, although men can sing high notes too. And sometimes men have lower pitched voices, or some people, man or woman, may have higher pitch and lower pitched voices. So I want you to imagine just hearing someone with a high pitched voice or someone with a low pitched voice and how they may behave when you hear the music. And when I go up and down, I bring them together. I want you to focus on the keyboard, Miss Evans, you can see it, or people who are listening. I want you to focus on listening to the music, because in life, the human beings are great. We have two very important things as human beings. We have memory and we have imagination. Our memory allows us to be able to go in the past and think about things that happened. Our imagination allows us to go in the future into things that have not yet happened. The good things about memory is that we can have so many pleasant memories that we can go through and we can enjoy and reminisce. That's a very good thing. The bad thing about memory is that it can be somewhere that gets you stuck, because it can be something bad that you remember and it's hard for you to get out of it. The good thing about imagination is that you can imagine how good life can be in the future, and you can take yourself out of the current situation now. The bad thing about imagination is that sometimes you can be panicked. You know, your money could be running low. You know, you may not have, your friend may not be well, and you may be wondering what's going to happen next. You may just have had a problem in your life, and you're wondering what's the worst thing that's happening now. So what worst thing that may happen in the future. So imagination is both good and bad, because it can help you to get yourself out of a situation, but imagination can also put you in a situation, right? Because something that has not happened yet can allow you to be in panic. So the things of the past that have happened that cause you to have a negative emotion, in clinical mental health, we refer to that as depression, right? It's depressed because of memory. It happened in the past and it depresses you. And the things that have not yet happened in the future that cause you anxiety and still not a state of balance, cause you problems or negative emotions, we refer to that as anxiety. So depression is mostly about worry about things that happened in the past, and anxiety is about worry about things that's going to happen in the future, have not even happened, or may never happen. So what we need to do is to be better. In therapy, we refer to that as existentialism, to be able to be in the present. The thing we have now is the present. So how do you bring yourself in the present? Because the past has already gone, the future has not yet arrived, but you have a moment now. So when you do deep breathing exercises, when you do yoga, when you do meditation, All of these things are to bring you to the present so you do not become kind of a burden of the past and you don't become a worry of the future, that you can bring yourself now. Because sometimes when we focus so much on what is missing, we miss what is present. Sometimes when we focus too much on what is missing, we miss what is present. So we have to be able to exercise and do things that allow us to be in the present, to be in the moment. So we're going to play the music and know the story of our piece. So, Miss Evans, I heard you're a good singer. So after I said you the words, and maybe you can sing, Lambi or somebody else. I don't know who's a good singer, but basically the words go like this: know the story of our piece. Actually, I'm gonna make a mockery of myself, and I'm gonna try to sing. Know the story of our peace. Know the story of our peace. Know the story of our peace. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Know the story of our peace. So, whichever, you can sing better, but you get the idea. So,
I can't help you.
but you can hum though. This is what we're doing. Know the story of our peace, we all. Miss Evan, that's okay. You can
Very
clap.
good. That was very good.
Thank you, thank you.
That was
When I get to when I come to Buffalo, New York, Miss Evans, to be honest, when I wrote the song "Know the Story of Our Peace," peace is also parents encouraging accountability and closure to everyone. So that's our song too. Okay,
Yes.
that's our song as well. Well, let's just remind our listeners that you're listening to the big station Q95 here, headquarters in the center of the city of Roseau. Well, kind of the center west part of the city, not the middle, but kind of the western middle kind of the city. And we are here with the Peaceology State. We are conducting our last show of the last show of the year. We are almost 40 minutes into our show here. The theme of our show tonight is important. It's focusing on how do we manage grief during the holiday season, and beyond. We have it's a live show, and you can call in at 449 if you're local in Dominica, 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097. You can also call number 616-4257, and our overseas line is 305-432-9624. We are here speaking with Teresa Evans, Jackie Wells, and Rosemary Speed, co-founders and members of Parents Encouraging Accountability and Closure for Everyone. That's an organization that was put together in Buffalo, New York, after a lot of people. At that time, we had about 56 homicides. We had about one homicide a week in the city of Buffalo, New York. People were very concerned. The Stop the Violence Coalition was founded around that time. The men, 100 Mighty Men. We had Mad Dads. We had I'm trying to remember, brother. What was Brother Charles Bridges?
Man Up.
Man Up.
Brother Men's Progress.
Brother Men's Progress. How is he doing, by the way?
Ben Charles.
He's still being Charles. He's still the same Charles.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, when I come to Buffalo, we need to have like a little reunion again at my place or so. You know, we need to do that at Enough Parade when they come back to the city. So this women mostly and a few men have been getting involved in trying to build their lives after the homicides. And Miss Evans will tell you, and Miss Wells can tell you about, although the women are very actively involved, and you know, when women run women organization groups, sometimes it's better like just the women are running, because sometimes when genders are mixed, the men have ways they do things, the men have ways to do things, and sometimes the men start and they go strong and then they die off, you know, and sometimes the women go slow and steady. So sometimes the women just figure out, you know, it's the best thing to just like, we just call these guys when we need them and we're going to take care of business. But the men play an important role because, you know, when we were out there during those homicides and they're still active threats. There are people who probably would look to find revenge, you know, during a vigil. And so the men played a role in helping to give the security. The women played a role in helping to bring the security, but the order and the heart and the follow-up with the family, the women play such an important role in this process. So we want to talk a little bit, Miss Evans, a bit about, you know, kind of the beginning of the organization from 2004, 20 years now in 2024. Give us a little bit about the life cycle. Like when you started, what did you start off thinking you knew? And eventually by year 5, year 10, what you had to learn in order that you could still be around in 2024 after 20 years? So what have the journey taught you? Miss Evans, you can tell us, and Miss Wells, you can tell us afterwards. What are your thoughts on that? What have you learned from this journey?
Well, the journey has been long and it has been hard, but because we are parents of murdered children, we do a lot of it from our heart. That was the longevity of how we were able to sustain um, in a process of trying to heal ourselves. We became a sisterhood. So when we meet with mothers, we try and hold on to them. Fathers, it's hard to get the fathers because the fathers, they think on a different level than the mothers. But we try to walk them through the process, like we just recently learned that we cannot heal them, but we can walk with them, just hold their hand, be there for it. And it's been hard because um, some parents they cannot handle it and they move on, go and deal with their grief, try and deal with their grief. But then once they heal or get to the point, not so much heal, but get to the point where they can help one another, somebody else, they come back and help someone else. And, we went for a very long time with no funding. So that was a challenge right there because, most of our money came out of our pockets. But because of the Office of Victims of Crime, we were able to learn, how to professionally help people, not just based off of our pain, but what do you do and what do you say and how do you help people? We had, and you know this yourself, a relationship with the Buffalo Police Department, bringing them in twice a year with the families, talking to the families, trying to explain the process, the district attorney, bringing them in. And we still do that 20 years later. We still bring them in. You know, we've been through a lot of detectives, a lot of district attorneys. We just had a district attorney turnover, but it's been a relationship with them to help. And it's not always a good relationship, because we have so many unsolved homicides. So we deal with that, you know, a lot. And the families are hurt. And it's almost like we're on both sides of the stone, where we trying to help them and help understand the police, trying to understand the police department, and, you know, and grief. And on top of that, we're dealing with the grief, and especially the holidays, you know, because holidays are hard. It's that empty chair. You don't have that loved one with you anymore. And, you know, how do you go on without that? And that's a long process. It takes time just to say, I can get up in the morning, you know, or I can wash my face this morning. Because a lot of people lose their jobs. A lot of marriages break up behind homicide because you cannot grieve together. So I'll let Jackie talk a little bit about how it is for her and what has she seen in the last 20 years with peace.
I've seen how you have to move on, and you have to forgive. You have to forgive, you know, I mean, this is a hard word to say, but you have to forgive the perpetrator, because if you don't forgive them, you cannot heal. You cannot move on and do what is meant for you to do, or what your vision is that you see that you could do. Mine was to make sure I helped some other mother, not so much as what she was going through, but how she could handle it going through it. Dr. St. John met my son, I think, 2 weeks before he got killed. And he was a good inspiration for me. He helped me uh, overcome. But our key word to me and to any mother is we must forgive. We got to forgive that perpetrator, no matter how bad it may be. We got to say those words, we forgive. Thank you.
Yes, Miss Wells, and you know it's hard. It's hard sometimes to forgive, as you're saying. Is Rosemary able to add something? Is she still around with us? She went to share some of what has she,
Rosemary,
anything
you want to
she's
say
learned from?
something about that, Rosemary?
No, Jackie
No.
said it well. You said it well. No.
Yes, 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 yes. Well, thank you for sharing that. And as we go through and we talk about Miss Evans, you asked me a very important question about the situation in Dominica, and you said to me, "What is the situation of justice? Like, what type of justice do people get after homicides occur?" And you know, the focus of our show, just to give you a context, Miss Evans, we have the population in Dominica depends on how you measure, around 76, let's say less than 80,000 people, right? Um, and the for sure, you know, in terms of the people that are there, it depends on how we measure in different times. Somewhere it could be 70, 75, 76, or somewhere around that. Um, we have not recorded like 20 homicides for the year. We have had 20 in the teens, in the high teens, low teens. We have had years when there were no murders or no homicides, you know, a long time ago. There were two, you know, a long time ago. But we have hovered, you know, somewhere in double digits, right? Double digits below 20, right? And depends on how you count what is, you know, sometimes the interesting things about homicides is that things turn to be a murder, things turn to be homicides after a time, like, you know, after a case that was unsolved, that something happened 10 years ago, all of a sudden, you know, the designation might change. Um, so one may say, well, Dominic is a quiet, peaceful nation. Dominicans are loving people. By and large, we are not on the highest levels of violence in the Caribbean or in the world, but we have enough of our problems. The problems we have are big problems for us. And one homicide is one homicide too many. And sometimes in some communities we have too much violence, we have too many problems. We know that. Why, even if they're good people that try to do good, the reality is that there are a lot of problems that need to be addressed, even if we are part of the nature isle. So the idea is not to say that things of things of violence are so terrible that one should not visit, or one should see people as that people from that type of context, because Buffalo, New York, Chicago, Illinois, they have that type of reputation. And when people come to Chicago, go to Buffalo, you're like, what are you guys talking about? Because the violence is common, but it's actually not as common as some may think, although it's terrible whatever has happened. So we're not making any excuses for the fact that we have a problem. We are just put it in the context. We are just put it in the context of the reality. So when we, even in Buffalo, when we had 56 homicides for the year there on 2004, we had like one homicide like every week. The people were like, for a population of that size, really, that is just too much. That is just too much. And we're in the same areas, we're in back of the same, sometimes the same addresses, to have prayer vigils again over issues of homicides. So one of the things that you asked me, Miss Evans, was, what is justice? How do people find justice in a place like Dominica? And people have friends in Jamaica, have people in St. Lucia, we have people in other Caribbean islands, Martinique, Guadeloupe, who are listening to our show, who may hear it now or hear it later on. So if someone has less and less homicides like what you have experienced in Buffalo, as is the case in Dominica per capita and so on, when you ask me the question about justice, Miss Evans, what do you have to say about what is the role of justice, and what do we need to understand about the complexity? Is justice easy to find? Is it difficult? So what is the relationship of justice when we talk about overcoming grief with homicides? What is the role of justice in that process?
Well, some people may never get justice because people don't talk. In Buffalo, I don't know how it is there, but we have that "don't be a snitch." So some people may never get justice, and some people might wait for years for justice. But I just don't know.
So, Ms. Evans, when you hear people mention from the work that you do, when you hear people talk about justice, what are they looking for typically? What's that to them?
Well, they want to see an arrest made because there's a lot of unsolved homicides. It's just, I think they want someone to go to court. They want to see people go to court and be arrested for their case. And a lot of times there's no arrest. That's what we deal with a lot. A lot of homicides are just unsolved. And I don't think they can find any peace until there's an arrest made. And I know, like Rosemary's case, how many years has it been, Rosemary, and it's unsolved?
I don't know if she can hear.
I don't.
20.
20 years unsolved. How do you feel about that, Rosemary?
I'm in between. I'm all right, but I'm not all right. It's in between, only because it's not what I want. I wanted the person to go to jail. It's what God wants. And they keep telling me that they had told me, just give it time. Then I would stop. Then I pick back up again, asking, and I'm just not. I'm tired of keep asking.
So when Miss Evans just mentioned about justice, I will say, what is justice for you? If you were to get justice, what would that look like?
It's been so long. I would be happy for it, but it's just been so long, and I don't even know. I don't know. I can't even say, because it's been so long. I don't even know how I would feel.
Thank you for sharing that. Miss Evans, did you get justice for your son?
Yes. Yes. The person was arrested. He did 22 years, and he's,
Mm,
free. And long as I don't see him, because like Jackie said, you have to forgive. And
mm,
long as I don't see him, I don't know what it would be like if I saw him today, tomorrow. But
mm,
I live with it. I've learned to live with it because going to court, it's overwhelming, really
mm,
overwhelming. And I don't wish that on anybody.
mm. Do you think it's someone you would recognize, or you may not recognize if you saw them?
I probably wouldn't recognize him because it's been,
Mm,
so long. I didn't know him. I saw him
mm,
in court, but I didn't know him. So
mm,
I think about that sometimes. I could be saying hello to him because I speak to people and not knowing who he is. But the
yeah.
course, they give an order to stay away. He is not able to come to near me,
Yes, and that
not
that.
even live near me.
So to you, it sounds to me like you find comfort in that. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, I've learned to live with it.
Okay,
Because
yeah,
that's
not
what
make
you
up.
do. You learn to live with it. Whatever comes your way, you learn to live with it, or it'll eat you up.
Thanks for correcting my language of comfort, but rather living with it, because you're living with doesn't mean you're comfortable, and there's probably no real comfort in that area in that time. But there are ways that things that can help you live with the situation a little easier than otherwise.
And that's just what, we tell people all the time. You'll learn to live with it. There's no going away. You learn to live with it.
Just like you, if you get a cut and that scab is going to be there, it will heal, but that scab is going to be there, and it's a
Right.
scab in your heart. And sometimes they are physical scars, but those emotional
Right.
scars are really deep.
Yep. The wounds will heal, but the scars will always be there.
Wow. Hills will warn, but the scars will always be there. Jackie, have you gotten justice?
Yes, on both cases. One did 19 years and the other one is still in.
Mm, yeah. I remember you were seeking justice for a long time. Jackie, can you tell us a little bit about what it felt like for you, for the times that you were waiting for justice, wondering if justice will happen, and when you receive it? Can you take us through that journey a bit to tell us what that was like for you?
It was, first of all, we knew one of the perpetrators.
Hmm.
That was very hard because that boy had slept and ate and everything in my home. And he escaped, for a while. It was like a year and 6 months before they captured him.
Hmm.
And they made us take a plea bargain, which I didn't really want because I really wanted him to be in jail for the rest of his life because I didn't never want to see him again. I never wanted him. I I knew his mother could go touch him and all of that, but I didn't want him to ever be able to have that feeling where he could still get love, where I couldn't get love anymore.
Mm.
And the second son was this young man. Some people say I knew of him, but I don't know him, and I would never recognize him if he was to walk past me today. I wouldn't know if that was him or not. And but I don't fear that anymore. I used to fear that. Oh my God! Because time I went out and I could have sworn I saw the boy who had killed my first son, and it was like a bad nightmare because he was there and then all of a minute he was gone.
Mm.
And, but I learned how to do that. I still talk to some of his family members right now. Just so that I can keep my sanity because they didn't have anything to do with it. You know,
Hmm.
so that's another thing we have to look at too. Because some families get upset and say, "I hate that family" and this and that, but they didn't have anything to do with it.
Mm.
So
Yes, as you say about learning to live with it, one of the things, hopefully, in the show you can tell us is some of the things you've learned and things you've seen people do to help to learn with it. And I mean, we're speaking for ourselves, but I have always had in my mind, Jackie Ross. That I don't know how she's doing, and how was someone like Jackie Ross live with her three sons murdered? How do you
I,
learn to live with it? Yeah.
I do keep in touch with her, and
Hmm.
doing, she's doing well. She's doing well. She stopped working as hard as she used to work. She's
Hmm.
relaxing and enjoying life. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the last time I heard, she's a grandma.
Okay.
Yeah, so she, you know,
Mm.
um, she's moving on. She's moving on.
She's learning to live with it, as you say,
Yeah,
and depend, so well, Caitlin, I need a favor from you because I know you're on Facebook. I want you to go to the website of the Facebook page, Caitlin, of I Lambi is the show live on Facebook, I imagine. So Kirkland or Colonel, whichever one of you, if you can go on Facebook, because we're trying to get the Facebook comments on our end, and we're not seeing the Facebook comments. So if you went to the Facebook page, we won't have comments on the StreamYard, but on Kirkland, if you see any comments or Colonel, any comments that our viewers on Facebook are showing, and you can share those comments with us, that would be greatly appreciated. I usually when we're in the studio we can see it right there on the screen, but we know that listeners and viewers sometimes send us comments on Facebook. And I'm going to get the numbers again, but Kirtland or Cornell, think about the question: what is justice? What is justice? What would justice look like? Do you think a family will get justice? And if justice happens, what would justice look like? Is justice a simple thing? Is it a difficult thing? In your context, with the loss of your sister, with the loss of your brother, the loss of, in fact, we didn't say that, but your father was also in a situation where his death was untimely. And so, what does justice look like? What can it look like? We are already at the top of the hour. We are already it's 7:07 in Central Time. It's 8:07 Eastern Time, and it's 9:07 in Eastern Caribbean Time in Dominica. And you are listening to Peaceology State. Peaceology State is brought to you by uh, Peaceology Acres, by Quality of Life Solutions, by I'm your host, Dr. Peter Kevin St. Jean. Patrice is here with me. Patrice is going to introduce herself. Miss Evans, you haven't seen Patrice in a while. You probably haven't heard Patrice's voice in a while. She said she doesn't want to come on camera. Miss Evans wants to see you. She wants to see your cute little face. She said, not now. Miss Evans, I'll have to send you a picture. I'll just stop a picture and send it. But we're
Haven't
going to
seen
hear, huh?
her since she was a baby.
Yeah,
She's
Patricia,
a
not
little
even gonna
baby when she
little,
left
not even a
Buffalo.
little. Okay, so you'll see her some other time. She doesn't feel like coming on camera now, but you will hear her. She will say a little hello and tell us a little bit of what it is like to be over here for the break or things like going to school for school. We'll hear. She'll remind us of who she is here in a minute. But I want to remind people that you can call in on our show. You can call in live, and Lambi, anytime a call comes in, we just put the caller through. It is 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097. We have a line, another number, 616-4257. And Lambi, you can get some more music from Tokyo live. Chate Noel, if you can find that one of those, or we can just pick up from where we were. And again, the overseas line is 305-432-9624, 305-432-9624. We are here on the Q95, the big station. Miss Teresa Evans and Jackie Wells and Rosemary Speed are in Buffalo, New York, listening to us and participating on StreamYard. Patrice Serge and I are here in the Chicagoland area, and Lambe's in the studio there in Dominica. Kirtland Charles and Colonel Charles are on the line with us. We're going to listen to a little bit of music. And Kirtland, when you come back, you can tell us, is your family getting justice? Might your family get justice? And if you were to get justice, what would justice look like in that context of Silver Lake, of the losses? And as people are waiting and thinking about these issues of justice, what do we need to consider about the complications? And Lambi, whenever you're ready, we're going to take a little break and listen to Tokyo with some Christmas music, Caribbean style, Johnny Kick, Dumbway, Bix, as we say, Sorrel, whenever, whatever you're ready for during this season. Good food, good time. You ready, Lambe? Let's go with some Tokyo.
It is fair to say, when Christmas is coming, everybody busy, busy and busy. The excitement of know that Christmas is here. In the evening, lovely voices will give you that vibe of Christmas coming. For that vibe of Christmas coming. I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, Christmas is coming. Vibe of Christmas coming. For that vibe of Christmas coming. I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, Christmas is coming. Shante, 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 shante. Sing hallelujah, sing hallelujah, sing hallelujah, sing hallelujah. Every face, for sheep and goats, even lying in bread, they want to put and go. Children in a bed of sweating and tender clothes. Open in the cat box, and to go to shop it up. If you hear back, Papa's coming, how that back up for 2 years. I don't know, I don't know, Christmas is coming. Back up, Papa's coming, how that back up for 2 years. I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, Christmas is coming. Long time ago, big family, to the holy light. Mary's born by Jesus Christ. What wonderful Christmas. Shante, 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 Lord. Shante, 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 Lord. Sing hallelujah, sing hallelujah, sing hallelujah, sing hallelujah. Mende wamnaban, ene kuyu, chodi asena, sino sunu kalidomi. Sunu zayit mende, sauni nukikwe, chodi asena, sunu kalidomi.
Chate, 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 Noel. Miss Evans, you know what that means? Chate, Noel. Usa pale patona, Miss Evans, pasa pale kwea. Usa
No,
pale
I don't
kwea.
know. No.
You are at least new enough to say I don't know, right? So he said chante is to sing. Noel is like Christmas. So sing Christmas, so sing Noel. That's what Tokyo is saying in that song. So now our co-host has just joined us. She's gonna reintroduce herself and tell our listeners, remind our listeners, she's not gonna be on camera with us, but you'll hear her voice. Patrice, welcome, welcome, welcome to the show. So Miss Evans is here, Jackie Wells from Rosemary Speedo from Buffalo, New York, and reintroduce yourself. Good to see you here.
Hello, everyone. I'm Patrice Saint Jean. I'm the co host here. I am in university. I study journalism and sociology with a minor in Black Studies. And I will not be on the actual live today, but I am here. I'm listening to the conversation, taking notes. And I didn't want to share with everyone what they say on the live. So someone said justice looks like hang or hard imprisonment, 20 years plus, and I'm really wanting to know what everyone here on the show today thinks about this comment.
Yeah, so I guess what you said, the one comment we have, or comment we have on Facebook says, someone says that the name is not necessary, but justice looks like hard, like to hang somebody, or to have hard imprisonment for 20 years, right? So somebody that believes in capital punishment, which somebody has the right to believe in capital punishment, right? Or hard imprisonment for 20 years. And Patrice was saying, what do you guys think about that response? I mean, we respect the fact that people have their opinions. That's why we're sharing it. But what are your thoughts about that, Miss Evans? Capital punishment for someone for murder, or just hard prison for a long time? What are your thoughts?
Well, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. And in Buffalo, in New York State, you can get up to 25 years. But I've seen in Philadelphia, people have received life for the same thing that someone in New York State gets, 25 years.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And
Jackie, what?
some people should be in jail for 25, 40 years. It depends on the crime. And, to each his own.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jackie talked about forgiveness. Everybody's not there.
Mm-hmm. So you don't have to say your personal views, Miss Evans, if you don't feel like sharing it. So you can reflect the thoughts of what you hear other people say. But what's your response to something such as capital punishment, or someone losing a life for life?
Well, I don't believe in the death penalty, because I believe that people should suffer, just like you cause the family and the friends to suffer. You suffer also. But I don't know. I've seen cases where I thought that maybe they should have received 25 years. In some cases, maybe they should not have. It depends on the case.
Yeah, so you're thinking like death penalties can almost be like a shortcut to it, because
Right. That's the easy way out.
Easy way out. I respect. I can thank you for sharing that view with us, Jackie. What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on?
Well, I'm not for the capital.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that if I gotta suffer for 20 or 30 years, they should suffer 30 years. I mean, I don't wish no harm on that person, but I just don't think that you could ever make up for a murder. You can't. What can you do? How? A lot, like I told the young man, if he came out and he talked to the people and told them what he had did, then that would be making up. Sharing your story or sharing what you did that caused you to go to jail. But I just think they should stay in there for murder anyhow.
Thanks for expressing your thoughts. Rosemary, do you have anything to share with us on that? I know, is she listening? Is she able to be? And Colonel, I want to hear from you. What is justice?
So justice is like is the quality of being the righteousness, or you can just say the righteous, of a quality vindication of right administration of law.
Okay, that's okay. Okay. Thanks for this definition of what justice would be: the right administration of law. So, in the particular case there, where you've lost your sister, you've lost a brother, you have had people around you who have lost people, what would justice look like if you had to get justice? Let's say for your sister, recently passed. What would justice look like for you?
Justice will like for me, like if I get justice for my sister, I will surely be happy because my sister deserves justice. She was so innocent to get killed.
So what does justice mean to you? What would have to happen for you to say, okay, that the right thing happened as a result of my sister dying? What is that right thing to you?
So you can repeat the question again.
I say, what would justice look like to you? You say you get justice. What does that mean? Does somebody have to be arrested in prison? Like, give me an example.
Yes, so there's to be in prison for them to get arrested by the police. so they can talk the truth and go to the prison to get their years of jail they deserve.
Okay, okay. And thank you. In criminology, if I put on my professor hat there for a little bit,
Okay.
justice. There are different types of justice. Justice generally relates to fairness, right? Fairness, but fairness never comes without a context. So you say, what is fair? Suppose somebody was walking down the road and somebody decided to pull the trigger of a gun and that gun killed the person. What is justice? Should that person be in prison for life? Now, the answer to this cannot be without a context, because I can say, suppose the person said, I am going to find this person, I'm going to use my gun and I'm going to kill them for a particular reason. Miss Wells, can you mute your phone, please, because there's a background sound. Thank you. So I'm going to find that person. I want to hurt them, and the hurt I want to do, I want to kill them. Basically, mens rea in criminology, which of mens rea is criminal intent. So the person had criminal intent, and they most likely whatever murder one is a man, which is the highest level, will be that I wanted to kill someone. That person I wanted to kill is you. I had a plan to kill you, and I succeeded in killing you. Right. So that is that murder. That's this highest level. Now, suppose the person who killed that person, that same gun that went off, was a little child who is 2 years old, that saw a gun and picked it up and saw it on TV and pulled the gun and ended up hitting the grandfather, the person, or whomever. And that child pulled the trigger and that person was dead. Should that child be facing 25 years, right? Suppose it was something where a person was cleaning a weapon and it just happened to accidentally went off. So a lot of things happen with context. So justice is not without context. What is fair does not come without an understanding of what we call in our field, the totality of the circumstances. That means all of the things that can be known can be rightfully understood and can be added and subtracted based on the circumstances. And to have a fair way that we can measure that if it were another person or somebody else would come to the similar conclusion. We call that something called reliability. And reliability means that any person who tests that one thing will come up with the same result. So if you have a weight and you have a weight and you put it on a scale, and somebody else has I put the weight on the scale and it's 1 pound, somebody else will put the weight on the scale, it should still be 1 pound, and the next person is 1 pound. If you drive your car to work and you get to work on time, if somebody else drives the car or I drive the car, we should still be able to get to work on time. That's a reliable car. It takes you back and forth, and regardless of who drives it, you don't have to jimmy-rig anything on the dashboard to get it started. It's reliable because almost anybody can do it. And there's something else in justice that is refers to validity. Validity is measuring exactly what it is that you set out to measure. So if we are saying that a person had a malicious intent to harm someone, what is a malicious intent? And the measure of the law in jurisprudence, which jurisprudence is the philosophy of law, the measure of the law is that of a reasonable person. So it says, will a reasonable person agree that what happened because of that reason? That's why it's important that in the voir dire process, when jury selection happens, that we're able to get people of similar race, similar ethnic background, and the like, so that people can have a reasonable chance of being able to be understood. The totality of the circumstances can be understood by the person who by almost all people, right? Because that's why sometimes when you have a murder and it's an all-white jury or something like that, people say, oh, that's unfair because there were all white people or the all black people or the all whatever people may not sufficiently understand the circumstances. Like in John Walker's case, when 4 black men in Buffalo, New York in 1976 were accused of killing one 62-year-old man, and 4 of them got arrested, and one of them went to prison. Well, actually, 5 of them. One of them was he never saw any the jail rally because he said that his friends did it. Judge McLeod, who's now running for mayor and announcing soon he's running for mayor of the city of Buffalo. I mean, we're not here trying to endorse any political candidate, but I don't know what the experience of peace has been. But when I was in Buffalo, Judge McLeod helped us a lot with justice. When he was on the bench, he seemed to have been a good judge. Nobody's perfect, but with John Walker's case, he was a stalwart in supporting John Walker's case. And Judge McLeod was the attorney at the time, Attorney McLeod, for Floyd Martin. And Floyd Martin never saw a day in prison because Judge McLeod defended him as a private lawyer, right? So he got justice because he had a private lawyer who did what it did. John Walker, and Darren Board and Darren Wilson spent a long time, and in fact, John Walker and Darren Board, they actually, two of those men are now no longer alive. John Walker is struggling with his life, and Darren Gibson died. And Justice John Walker just recently got exonerated. And whatever settlement they have, they're trying to live their lives, and some people lied about them. So what is justice, right? It can vary. So when people say, well, someone should suffer in jail, or someone should, we can forgive them or no death penalty, I think we ought to respect, to understand where people are coming from, because their opinions do not come without context. And if you listen well to why they came to those conclusions, we probably will be able to understand. So in the process, Ms. Evans, while people are waiting for reliability and validity, while people are waiting for truth, not knowing what really happened can really eat people up. And as Ms. Wells said, when she found out, she learned to live with it, but now she doesn't have to wonder, did my child just die with no one caring, or just died like a cockroach, or they just die like an ant, right? Because then if something happens to an animal like that, nobody responds to that. So then you might feel, well, hey, my child just died seemingly in vain. What is going on? So I mean, this is heavy stuff to carry on. And as we go through this process, we have to think about, how do we really manage our situation? How do we, as people who have had the suffering that we have experienced, forgive and forget, or forgive but don't forget? How do we live with it when it's something that is going to be with us for the rest of our lives? But we're going to take another quick musical break. And Miss Evans, I'm going to play a song, and you will tell me after I play it if you recognize that song. Huh? You'll tell me if you recognize that song after I play it. You're like, what song is that? You didn't recognize that one, right? Miss Evans, what song was that?
Rosemary said, "We wish you a Merry Christmas."
Ah, well, let's see if she knows this one. What was that one?
Rosemary think it was Belize Nadida. Was that
Ah,
it?
well, Rosemary knows all the answers. We're gonna have to send her a prize. So we're gonna have to send Rosemary a prize.
We're gonna send you a prize, Rosemary.
They're gonna give me, I'm to send you a prize, Rosemary, for guessing right. So again, folks, we are here live on the Q95, the big station. It is the 23rd day of the month of December of the year 2024. I am your host, Dr. Peter KB St. Jean, a co-host, Patrice KB St. Jean. We have in Buffalo, New York, Miss Teresa Evans, Jackie Wells, and Rosemary Speed from Parents Encouraging Accountability and Closure for Everyone. We also had joining us here tonight, Colonel Charles and Kathleen Charles, who from the community of Silver Lake in Dominica. The topic of the topic of the day was how do we deal with grief during the holiday season and beyond. And the women who are joining us are part of Parents Encouraging Accountability and Closure for Everyone, a group in Buffalo that tries to find accountability and closure, especially for parents and loved ones who have had, who have survived, who are survivors of people who've been victims of homicides. And why the reason why we're having this show tonight? Well, of course, we're wrapping up some things of the year, but towards the end of the year and throughout the year, we have had instances when homicide have kind of like thieves stolen our loved ones for us. And we thought that with the 20th anniversary of peace, the great work that we've been doing to support families in Buffalo and beyond, that we would bring them to speak with us. And we invited Colonel and Kirtland to share with us their experiences and to think about the future of the community. Now, Colonel, I see you're back with us. How do you grieve? Grieving is really Miss Evans and Miss Jacqueline Wells have told us that we have to learn to live with the fact that our loved ones were taken away from us in the manner that they did in this unfair way. We have to find a way to live with that. How do you live with that? I say, okay, he disappeared. I know he has an unstable basis. Sometimes the internet might drop, so we lost him. But Colonel, as you come back, and Kirtland, if you're listening to us, how do you grieve? How are people in Silver Lake grieving over the losses that have happened over the time? We know of Wadada, we
Information.
know Tracy. Yes, Colonel, you're there.
Yes, sir.
So tell us, how do you grieve? How do you deal with the death?
Yes, so whenever I think about my sister, I cry sometimes. I told myself I have to hold strong. My sister is gone now. Just hold strong because everything's gonna be okay. She might get justice. She will get justice because she's like so innocently. Yeah,
Mm.
I just holding strong.
So what does that mean, holding strong? Like when you're in school, if the thoughts come to your mind or somebody says something, what does holding strong mean to you? Tell me some things you do to help you hold strong.
So excuse me, you can repeat yourself again, please.
Yes, what are some of the things you do to help you hold strong? What do you do to help you hold strong?
So what I do, so I cool on my pressure a little, like I cool on myself to tell myself be strong. Some other people will comfort me and tell me okay, all right, and so.
Mm. So you try not to add pressure to yourself. Miss Evans, in your experiences, and Miss Wells, in your experiences working with young people, and I know that Peace, you said Peace started to kind of, you always worked with young people, but you tried to boost up a little more focus because your more focus has mostly been among the parents, right? And what you've supported families. But now that you're working more to try to more directly work with children, what have you learned about the ways that adults grieve and the way that children and young people grieve? Do they grieve the same way or no?
No, no, they don't grieve the same way. Um, a lot of children are the forgotten victims of any grief because the parents are grieving and the kids want to hurt the don't want to see the parent hurt anymore. So kids are more quiet than parents because the parents are outspoken. Kids talk amongst themselves. Just spending time with them, we see how they talk among themselves where they cannot talk to the parents. And we have not really say that we found the grief counselors that look like us to help
Mm.
with children because our focus is mental health, and grief is not a mental health disorder. It's so it's hard to find that help for them. So parents, they go to the support group, they talk to other parents, but and they just it's different for children as it is for adults. And what we have learned is children maybe do some activities with them because they kind of like to discuss things. If you just spend more time doing activities with them and ask them how are they feeling and what does that feel like, and they will tell you because they know how they feel. Well, a lot of times they can't explain how they feel, but if you allow them just to talk in their own terminology, you can get a feel for what they're feeling. And
Yeah.
don't shut them down because we'll say, "Oh, you shouldn't say that or you shouldn't do that." Allow them to speak.
Miss Evans, I thank you for sharing that. I don't know if you know that because we haven't seen in person for a while, and we probably haven't spoken in a few years. Like we haven't spent that much time together in a long time. But in 2022, I graduated with a master's in clinical mental health counseling. So I'm a therapist now, and
Congratulations.
thank you, thank you, thank you. And in fact, a couple of weeks ago, on December 13th, I graduated with my master's in organizational leadership from North Park because I'm putting together this whole Peaceology is a new discipline. It's the science and practice of low stress and high joy. So with my PhD in sociology, for the 20 years after that, I started in 2020. In 2020, because I got my PhD in 2002. So in 2022, 20 years later, when I decided that I needed to know more beyond Peaceology, so I started the master's in clinical mental health and graduated in 2022. And then in 2022, in 2023, in the spring, I began in the business school. And what that has done for me to be able to understand the science, social sciences like sciences, understand people, understand science, understand people, and understand business, it allows me to be able to do what I do better, right? In terms of focusing on low stress and high joy, because our communities need to be developed by business. We need to understand people, but we also need to understand science. So what I'm hoping, in fact, when I was doing the counseling degree, a lot of the examples that I had to give, I took from work and experiences I had in Buffalo, from things I saw with the families. I remember when one of the young men, Brandon's mother, I was in Dominica, and Kelly said, of all the things, because after her son was killed, Brandon was killed, people had robbed her, had burglarized her home. You remember that? And then Kelly said the only thing she asked on TV, she said the only thing she wanted from the thieves who came to her house was to bring back the cap that they took from her house, which was the cap that her son was wearing when he was murdered. And she told me that the video, like that video that I gave her after the funeral, was like she didn't even remember the cap because when you're in the funeral, sometimes you're numb. But she saw the value of the cap and how much he wore the cap from the videos that I gave her, because remember, I'd film the video, I would film the funerals, and I would give the family a copy of the video. And a lot of those people did not even remember the funeral very much because they were in so much shock. So what I realized that with the work that we've been on the front lines, we have to understand kind of science, kind of understand how things happen with how justice happens. We have to understand people, how to deal with grief and so on, but we also need to understand business, because sometimes the business of violence has caused victims of our community, right? And sometimes people want to bring their lives together, and we need to be taught things and help to develop things. So as I listen to you, you sound like a therapist yourself, because you have been going through therapeutic training, you have had those experiences. What are some of the things that you have learned? Because you reflect very well on the things that you've said. But going through this, what are some of the people skills and grief support skills that you have learned in the process?
I've learned so many.
Mm,
One thing to listen to the people, and like Jackie said earlier, we just recently learned that we cannot heal people, but we can walk with them, be there
mm,
for them.
mhm,
Pretty much and of course, like we can't, of course we lost our children, but just like you said, we have to also understand, um, going back to school, the training, not just on our grief, but we sometimes we have to have that book knowledge to just help people, because we don't want to damage people because the people are hurting already. And
mhm,
not only do are they experiencing the grief, a lot of people experience financial, income because they cannot work. You know, marriages, they break up because they cannot grieve together. It's just a lot more than just the grieving part. Homicide plays a terrible, terrible part in people's life. Grief plays and grief is just not homicide. It's grief. The loss of a job, a loss of a relationship. So there, especially at this time of year, there's a lot of things that people are grieving. Their health, where you so used to going out, being able to go out, do things, and you can't do things anymore because your health is failing. So it's a lot more to it than just saying, oh, I want to help someone, because they lost a loved one. You have to deal with a compound grief, anticipated grief, where if you're watching your loved one um, unable to do the things that they used to do because they can't get out of the bed sometimes. So
yes.
yeah, it's a lot that we've learned over 20 years.
Yes, that's important. Well, we are winding down already. Believe it or not, it's now 43. It's now 17 minutes before the hour. We just have about 60 more minutes of the show to go through. We will be talking a little bit. Miss Evans, it sounds like we should do some workshops online together sometime. We should share with the world some of the pointers that we have been learning throughout the process. Patrice, there are some comments. Is a new comment. Can you tell us what that comment is?
Someone says, interesting program. How do you forgive and forget? That's the question, especially if the murder was intentional.
How do you forgive and forget, especially if the murder was intentional? How do you do that, Miss Evans? How do you do that, Jackie?
I think
Well,
Jackie should answer that.
my
Okay.
way, I think, we, most of us are very, have a religious faith, and if God can forgive us, why can't we forgive them? And that was my philosophy. That was my way of thinking. I was like, wow, if God can forgive me for the things that I've done, why I can't forgive this young man? As soon as I started forgiving, my heart and my body and my mind started healing. And you know, hatred or unforgiveness is like a cancer. It'll eat you up if you let it stay there. So it's a must to forgive. Like I heard you say, we don't forget, but we have to forgive them. Okay. Did I turn my mic off?
Yes, yes. Thanks for sharing that. Now, Jackie, that you said some things that are very important. And the main thing that you said, and again, I'm not trying to qualify what you say because you are your own expert from having lived your life. I'm just saying from the professional, from our standpoint, what we teach is that forgiveness is for the survivor.
Mm-hmm.
The apology is for the perpetrator.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, if you did something wrong to someone, you need to find a way to atone, find the truth, to accept, to admit the wrong that you did, and to apologize for the wrong that you did, so you can be a healthier person.
Yes.
Especially as the person said on Facebook, especially if it is an intentional murder, not an
Right.
accident. How do you forgive someone who intentionally killed your loved one? Well, the person who intentionally killed, we have a few of them in Buffalo, and Miss Evans in the groups, in the men groups, we had men who committed murder who work with us in peace in Chicago. There are a lot of men that I work with and some women who have actually taken people's lives, some of them intentionally, some of them negligently. And when a lot of those men came up, a lot of those men actually who committed robbery and so on in some of the groups would say, I apologize to the community for what I did. Some of them who sold drugs and the drugs that killed the community that caused their kids to buy the drugs from them and overdose, or they became drug dealers. Some of them openly, you have heard them apologize for the wrongs that they did. Some of them who were burglars, they apologize for stealing, for purse snatching. Some of them who were rapists apologize for the acts that they committed. That is something to help the perpetrator to heal, the apology. If they deny it and they continue to deny it, we know that sexual predators are very, very difficult to change their ways or to improve their ways. But some people, the first step of recovery is usually acceptance. That's why with Alcohol Anonymous, you go and say, my name is XYZ, I am an alcoholic. Narcotic Anonymous, my name is XYZ, I am an addict. The first step is acceptance. So that acceptance that it did, that truth telling and that apology is for the perpetrator. Now, for you on the other side, as the survivor, we don't like to say victim because victim sometimes connotes that somebody is weak, victimized, you're weak. So we say survivor because it's, you victimized, but you're still strong, right? You are still surviving. You are still withstanding, regardless of the fact that something wrong was done to you. So the idea of forgiveness is exactly what Jackie said. There's a nut that's on your chest. You wake up in the morning and you have that venom that you feel, and you have lost your child, but now you're losing yourself because you're walking around so angry. You probably cannot find job, your work, you cannot function well. You're agitated. You're going to lose your loved one. Your children find that you're cranky. Your life is unstable. You are becoming a prisoner out of the circumstances of that victimization that was done to you. So the power that you have is to be able to liberate yourself from the imprisonment of that venom that you feel inside. There is something called victimology, and victimology is the scientific study of victimization and the processes involved in victimization. And one of the first things that I teach in victimization is that some people play very active roles in their own victimization. That is a very controversial statement because it sounds like if somebody was murdered, someone was killed, or someone was raped, or someone was harmed, it sounds that I'm saying that the people brought to themselves what happened to them. That's not what we're saying. We say some people, not everybody, play very active roles in the victimization. It doesn't mean that because a person went out drinking and they were staggering a little bit on the road, that invited somebody else to snatch their purse. It doesn't mean that because someone say, I'm going to kick you, whatever, that somebody has the right to shoot them or to stab them. It doesn't mean that because somebody was out there riding in a car with somebody who was drinking, that they had the right to lose their life. It doesn't mean that because you saw somebody playing with a gun and you probably could have said something about the person playing with the gun and end up growing up liking guns or firing the gun by mistake or something like that, and a person end up killing someone with a gun. It doesn't mean that your child deserve or you deserve to get a bullet because someone was careless. But what it means is that when we say that some people play an active role in their own victimization, it means that people can play an active role in their own survival and in their own peace. So that means to say that there are things you can do, and in criminology, we refer to this as routine activities. You can, when you talk to robbers and they ask you, in my book, Pockets of Crime, Icepick says in my book, my chapter on robbery, he says, I want it, I see it, I take it. I clock them and clock them. People sometimes look at people who they want to be victims, and especially now during the season, if you go shopping, if you have the ability, you should not take the things from your trunk and put it in your vehicle and go back to the store. If you can move your vehicle to somewhere else, that would be good. While you're walking, do not walk distracted with your purse flinging all the way. If you have $1,000 you just got paid and you're going to shop for about $200, leave $800 at home and bring only the money that you need. Do not walk with all of your valuables. You may have your passport if you're in another country. You may be in the city. You may have some change. Walk with yourself, properly clothed if you're in the winter. Walk with something that you have your purse kind of on the inside so that it is protected. Because if there are a lot of people who look around intentionally trying to rob people, intentionally trying to harm people, and that is why the viewer is saying, how do you forgive somebody who exercised mens rea, who had criminal intent, who went out and did wrong to you, right? So there are a lot of things you can do. We call in criminology to harden the target. In other words, to make it more difficult to be a victim of robbery or a victim of rape, a victim of murder, a victim of something. There are some things that you can see that's going the wrong way. And if you remove yourself from that situation, you can help to save your own life. So we teach in victimology, how do we not help the perpetrator to perpetrate against us? When we see our children going down the wrong way, to what extent are we helping them to go down the right way? If we do not do that, we are actually helping our children to go down that path. But again, to the point, when somebody does wrong to you, you will suffer from what they did, but you will suffer more if somehow you can not find a way to not carry the pain in a way that drags you down. You will have double victimization. And remember, the apology is for the perpetrator, the forgiveness is for the survivor. When you can forgive, and the question is whether you forgive and forget, we can talk about that, but when you forgive, you empty out your soul, you clean and cleanse your soul, you align your spirituality to be able to face the world again. And you did not become a victim of the people who victimized you in the first place. You'll be able to become a survivor, you're able to raise your chin, and you're able to move on with your life. So viewer, thank you for that question. Yes, you have to remember when somebody did wrong to you, because if you forget, you might put yourself back in the same situation. What you need to forgive, what you need to forget, when we say forgive and forget, we are not saying to forget that this happened. We are saying to forget the retaliation. I'll say this again. When we say to forgive and forget, we are not talking about forgetting what happened to you, because you can get yourself in that situation again. We are saying to forget about retaliation. We are saying to forget about trying to do something back, because when you try to do something back to the person, you do not know what size gun they have, and you may end up being the victim because they already out there doing wrong. When you come at them, you give them to them a legitimate reason to do wrong back to you. So, Ms. Evans, as we're winding down, believe it or not, we just have about 6 minutes. Can you just give us any Any final words and encouragement that you have, and ideas and tips you have for family members as they are grieving their loved ones during this hurricane, sorry, during this holiday season?
Well, I say, anybody that's listening, you have my deepest sympathy in the loss of your loved one. In far as the holidays go, do what you feel comfortable with. You may have been the person that cooks the dinner, but if you don't feel like doing the dinner this year, don't do the dinner. Because if you don't want to go with the family, just let the family know I'm not feeling up to company this year. But that's how we holidays, because the holidays
Yes, I don't know if I'm not hearing Miss Evans, and I don't know.
oh
Namdi, give me
I'm
okay,
sorry,
go ahead,
I
Miss
was
Evans.
still on mute.
Go
And
ahead.
I was just saying, for the
Hmm.
holidays, I think that people should do what makes them comfortable. A lot of times, you're the person that does all the cooking. If that's what not you're not up to it, you let the people know, your family know that you're not up to it. Maybe go to someone else's house. And if you want to just stay home and be alone, be stay home and be alone. But you have to do things that's going to help you, because we can't please everybody. When we have to take care of ourselves first. That's the main thing you learn. Take care of yourself. Don't put yourself in a situation that you'll be hurt, because your loved one is not there and everybody's laughing and you may not be in the mood to laugh. But you have to just
Hmm.
let people know how you feel, because people don't know unless you tell them.
Wow, they can read your minds. Thank you for sharing
Right.
that, Jackie Wells. Any parting words of advice as people face to the holiday? What they can expect if they have lost loved ones, and what can they do to rise?
I would say the same thing Teresa just said. If you don't feel like doing it, don't do it. And
Mm,
find something else. Maybe go to a show. Go be by yourself. Just just um just treat you. Be good to yourself.
mm,
Make yourself wonderful. Treat yourself to everything that you think that you want to do, do it. Because nobody knows when that trigger might come up and everything go haywire. See, like Teresa said, some people can't take laughter. You know,
mhm,
I never forget one time I went to visit a mother and we was laughing. And when we came out, my president said, "Oh, we don't laugh. We don't laugh." And I was like, "Well, I thought laughter was medicine." But then
mm,
I grew to learn she was right. Some
mm,
some some parents, it's good to get them to laugh, and then some it's not all right because they thinking you're laughing at them. So
mm.
just treat yourself right. Just make sure that you're in the right spirit. And your spirit don't have to be jolly full every time. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Colonel, what are your thoughts of as people cope for the holidays? What would you like to tell other young people like yourself about how to keep themselves during the holidays as they grieve the loss of their loved ones as you have? What advice do you have for them, Colonel? Are you still with us?
So I would just tell them hold on strong. Just keep on doing what they have to do.
Hmm. Well,
Because
thanks for
everyone
yeah.
in the family.
Yeah.
So the
Everyone what?
try the end, I the end. I
Okay.
like
Thank,
about
thank
peaceology.
you. Thank
Yeah.
you. And in addition, I just want to add a few things. While you're going through these holidays, as you're going through the grief, remember to accept your feelings. You may feel happy, you may feel sad, you may feel mad, you may feel anger, you may feel joy. It is just important to just face your feelings for what it is. Whatever feelings you have, just embrace them. They are yours. If they are good or they're bad, they're indifferent, just embrace them. They are yours. You glad, be glad you could feel. A lot of people are being viewed and not seen. So just embrace whatever emotions you have to set really, really realistic expectations. On the holiday, you're going to try to cook, you're going to try to eat, you're going to try to visit people, you want to give gifts. Do not feel pressured to be giving people gifts that you cannot afford. Remember to remind yourself that every year is different and people are different. So as you pressure yourself to give people different gifts, remember the gifts of last year may not be the one, but the best gift you can give is the gift of yourself, the true gift of love, the gift of your presence. Create new traditions and new memories for yourself. If you have not gone out, if you don't like snow and you're in the snow, enjoy the snow. If you are somewhere and you don't like hot water, you don't like cold water, you haven't been to the river or something, you haven't eaten a certain type of food, try it out. Just create new traditions for yourself. Share good memories. There are a lot of pictures you have taken over the years, things on Facebook or otherwise, albums, old pictures of family members. Just share those memories and laugh when you have to. Remember to also to ask for help. Don't think that you can go through things just by yourself. There are families and friends that are there. You can just talk to them. Some things you have to be careful what you share, because if you share things that are too sensitive, they may come back to get you. But you can share things that are not so sensitive. And the most sensitive things, you should seek professional guidance from a counselor or therapist to talk to those things about, because they're trained professionals that are trained how to listen and how to reflect and to help you. Take very good care of yourself. Take care of yourself, your loved ones, your family. If you're a man and you have children, your most important task is to take care of your child. If you're a mother, most important job is to take care of your child. If you're a grandmother, those types of things. So take care of yourself. I'm talking about your body, your mind, your soul. Avoid the use of alcohol or medications that alter your mood. If you are feeling sad, it's the wrong time to be drinking or taking drugs. Just leave it alone, because it's not going to help you. Do not isolate yourself too much. Go around people, because we are, as social beings, human beings, we are meant to be socialized. We're meant to be around people and to enjoy the things that we are doing and to feel good when we are among others. All energy follows attention, and what we put out, we get back. And lastly, to draw comfort from doing things with others. When you do things with others during the holiday, you can find comfort in yourself. And even when the comfort is, even when the company is not that good, it is good, because sometimes even bad company is better than no company, depending on what the bad company is. Sometimes bad company is bad company and bad company is not good, but bad company may be just somebody that's annoying you because they're talking too much, or they're eating too much of the food, or they laugh too loud. That might be bad company, but that's not too bad company. There's some bad company and some company that's annoying. Know the difference between what is bad and what is annoying. Dr. Peter KB St. Jean, it's been a pleasure to be here with you. Lambi, thank you for being in the studio. Miss Evans, thanks for being here with us. Jackie Wells, Rosemary Speed, Colonel Catilia, thank you so much. Kirtland, for being here with us. We mourn Catilia and others. Thank you so much. And Lambi, take it away as we celebrate Rasmo with our theme music. And Miss Evans and everyone, see you next time. Patrice, thank
And we invite you all to our conference. We having a conference June 12th and 13th, gun violence prevention. We would love all of you to come. The information will be going out soon.
Thank you. Will that be a virtual part of it too?
Yes. No, you
in
should
person
be there
or
in person. You should
Okay.
be there in person.
All right. All right. I'll try to
presenter.
see if I can bring Patrice if I'm around.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Let me thank you again. Thanks for listeners, everybody.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Yes, sir. Bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Good night.
Bye-bye. Bye. Good night. Bye-bye.